familiar faces. Who's here for the first time at a Solo Ager event? Wow, that's quite a few of you. Okay, well, welcome. So glad you're here. And for all of those who have been frequent flyers, so to speak, welcome back. That's great. And I just, on your chair, you'll have more information, a handout about what the Solo Ager Network is. I'll go over sort of a few brief highlights, but you can read more there. And Solo Ager we define as an individual who's over 55 and who does not have a sufficient network of support. So you could have family, you could have friends, but it's not sufficient. And the Solo Ager Network programs, if you ever see them in the Jenks newsletter, they are open to all because many of these topics really benefit everybody, all older adults. So, but the topics are selected because they meet a particular unique need for a Solo Ager, somebody who doesn't, again, have that sufficient network of support. The whole goal of these programs that we offer are to educate, empower, and to encourage people to put together what their thoughts are about what they want, what they need, how to be prepared in advance of a situation happening, because often when a situation happens and you're in urgent need, there's no time, you don't have the time or the energy to put together a plan in place. And today's program is a perfect example of how to be prepared. I also just want to say that, who am I, right? Sorry. Yeah, my name is Mary Ann de Blasi, and I am on the Solo Ager Planning Committee, and I work with Thea, who is in the yellow over here. She's on the Solo Ager Committee, and Carol Keller, and Peter, and Suzanne Norton, and myself, and together we're sort of the team that brainstorms topics, ideas, and kind of executes and makes them happen. So that's who we are, so thank you. Today's program is going to be on, again, creating a life transition binder. This topic is something that it's kind of documenting all your personal, financial, health, etc. information in one place. And this has been a topic that I've been really personally eagerly looking forward to, because my niece about a year ago offered to be my healthcare agent and my power of attorney, and I was so grateful for her offering. She'll be great. And she doesn't know my history. She doesn't really know me like maybe a daughter or a son would. And so my commitment to her was, I promise I will put supports in place to support you to support me. I will support you to support me. And this life transition binder is a huge part of that, because she can't support me if she doesn't have the information. So I am thrilled to introduce, just one more thing, on the back of this handout is both some past programs where you can find information on past programs, and our future program, which is a 4-week workshop of actually creating, like we'll meet as a group to actually do a life transition binder and complete one. But Sandra will talk a little bit more about that. But let me introduce our speaker today. Sandra Batra is, what? Oh, yes, and if you could silence your phones, that would be really appreciated. Thank you. Because we don't want all these beeping noises going on. And the other thing too is you also have on your chairs a feedback form. If you can complete the feedback form at the end and put it in the basket on the table when you walk on your way out, we would really appreciate it. We definitely read our feedback forms and we make adjustments, and we incorporate that into future programming. So thank you in advance for doing that. Right now, on to our speaker. Sandra Batra has been working with seniors in varying capacities since 2017. After developing the Life Transition Binder which is an organizational tool. She began working with clients one-on-one and providing classes to help seniors prepare for life transitions. She is passionate about providing seniors with information and resources that can help and support them as they age. And prior to working in this capacity, she worked for John Hancock, and she worked as a Montessori teacher's assistant. All right, and with that, I'm going to turn it over to Sandra.
Okay. Okay, everyone, good morning, and thank you, Marianne. So actually, Marianne gave you a really good introduction there. As she said, my name is Sandra. And I have actually been doing this, really like 9 years. It's hard to believe. I am, as you will find out, really passionate about this. And I'm going to explain why, because really I want you to learn from me, but I will also learn from you too. We're in this together. So I left everyone a handout, and that handout is really a review of what we're going to get into. It's just a brief summary, just sort of a real example of some of the information that's going to be included in the binder, okay? And the reason I give it to you is some people say to me, do I need to fill it in? And no, you don't. That's your take home. Because you can do this yourself. Let's be honest, you can. Some people tackle it from time to time, but never finish it. And so this is just a little reminder of what I'm going to talk about, of what's in the binder. So if you choose to do it yourself, it's just a reminder of, oh, this is something else I should include or should consider including. So anyway, it's yours to keep, okay? But let me just, I've got my own little cheat sheet here just to make sure I go through everything. So just make sure that everyone can hear me okay. So when I talk about a life transition binder, it truly is an organizational tool. It's a tool that pulls together all your important life details into one resource. And we're going to go through it in a little bit more detail because we're going to follow your handout. But just to give you an idea, when I say all your important life details, there are 8 generic tabs in the binder. The 8 tabs are actually listed on your handout. It's medical, services, and other. But one of the things that I will also tell you to do is to customize it even more. Now, I'm sort of jumping ahead, but we are going to be offering a class here at the Jenks. And it's a 4-class series, and we'll talk about it at the end too. It's a 4-class series. We will meet over 4 consecutive weeks for an hour and a half. So you're going to be with me for 6 hours. But I'm like a bag lady because I come with all these bags. But one of the things that I come with is extra tabs, because you should be customizing your binder too. If somebody said to me, for example, well, I've already bought my cemetery plot, then you know what? I'm going to hand you a tab and we're going to write cemetery on it, and then you're going to actually put it there in the back of your binder. But that just gives you an idea. We're going to talk about that a little bit more. So this resource has 8 generic tabs, and my goal is to get you all to customize it even further. So before we get into the details of what's included in there, I just want to explain to people. Some people will say to me, oh, it's a death binder. And I'm sorry, I really have to push back and say it's not. This resource is for you as you age. Okay? So that as you are aging, I mean, let's face it, my husband is really quick to remind me about how much I forget. Okay? There are times when he says to me, oh, after 9 p.m., maybe we shouldn't have these kinds of conversations. And I have to agree. You know what? We all forget things. We cannot multitask as well as we think we can. or we would like to. And sometimes I know myself as I age, things start to feel a little bit more overwhelming when you just start adding things to that list. So this is for you now and as you age. It's the resource that you can turn to at any point in time to review what you have, where it is, how you pay bills, the doctors you see, whatever it may be, it is your resource. So just imagine it's the place that in 10 years' time you can turn to it. 15 years. It is your resource and you keep it. Okay? It's that little it's like a cheat sheet to your life. I mean, let's face it. So the first goal is it's for you. Okay? The second function is it's for that what if moment. And I'm going to explain that. So what if you need a hip replacement and then you've got rehab and it just takes you time before you're back on your feet and ready to tackle everything? What if your family needs to step in? Or if it's not family, a friend, a trusted resource. What if somebody needs to step in so they can actually assist you? How are they going to do that? Unless they know where to turn. So at that point in time, this is a resource that they can turn to so that they can step in and help you. Because there are times when we will need help. Okay? We just need help temporarily until we're ready to take it back. That's the second function of it. And the very last one is for end of life. Okay? And the reason I say it's for end of life is because, let's face it, I mean, obviously people will say to us, or people say to me all the time actually, I have all my estate documents, my legal documents. I've created a will, I've got a trust, I've got my proxy and power of attorney. Great, because you should. Absolutely, everyone needs them. But let's remember what those documents actually say. So if I were to summarize somebody's will, basically, and I should say I'm not an estate planner and I'm not a financial advisor, just so you know that, but basically it says, when I pass away, you need to look at all my assets, and then you're going to take 20% and give it to the senior center or to a charity, and you're going to take another 20% and you're going to give it to my niece, and whatever it is. You look at your beneficiaries, right? It talks about who your beneficiaries are. So it says, take my assets and divide them according to how I've allocated it. That's great, but what assets? Nowhere in there does it tell you what assets you have, or liabilities, or any of that. So this life transition binder actually complements your estate documents. I've actually created these binders one-on-one with a couple of estate lawyers because they said, you know what, I need one of these. And they saw the value that it really does complement your estate documents. But like I said, that's the third function of it, the very last function. Most importantly, I want you to remember it's for you now and as you age. I truly think that it's also a gift. I think it's a gift that you're giving to your loved ones or whomever it is who's part of that support system that you have, the trusted people in your lives. I think it's a gift to them. My husband questions this, but I always say, I think it's a gift you're giving yourself. Now, don't get me wrong, it takes a lot of time, and I understand there's a lot of work that goes into creating them. But at the end of the day, you feel organized. Often you end up simplifying your life a little bit, which is always a benefit, and it gives you peace of mind. Now, I have a binder, my husband has one, and there are times when I have to say, if we're traveling somewhere together, I often, I hate to go there, but in my mind, I go to that place like, what if something happens to us? And I have to say to myself, it's okay. I've done everything I can. My kids know we have this. They know where it is. They know where to find it and how to get access to it. I can't really do more. And yes, we have to update it. This is a living resource, which means you do have to update it. So anyway, I do think it gives you peace of mind, because when my husband and I do, like I say, travel, it is that peace of mind that says, it's okay, I've done everything I can. I don't think I can do any more, except give it to them now, which I'm not. But it gives you that peace of mind. And that's important, because when we are stressed, that negatively impacts our health. It truly does. It's proven. So it relieves that stress, knowing that we have it for ourselves and for those who need to help us. Before we start going into the binder, I'm just going to tell you a little bit about why I started doing this. Because again, I want you to kind of learn from my experience in this. So anyway, about 14 years ago now, my father was sick. Now, my parents lived in Florida and I was here in Massachusetts. Now, I'm going to, a little bit of history here. You most probably have figured out I am not from the US. I was actually born and raised in England. When we came to the States, my dad was 40. And so it was a long time ago. But anyway, he was denied health insurance because he had a pre-existing condition. There was no Obamacare, no Affordable Care Act. So even though he worked, he ran a company, denied health insurance because, hard to believe, hereditary high cholesterol. It was just simply high cholesterol, but denied. So my dad didn't get health insurance until he turned 65 and he got Medicare. So for 25 years, no medical insurance. You have no idea, especially coming from a country with a national health system, you have no idea how expensive medical care is here in the US. And he only paid for what he really, really needed. Okay? So my father at the age of 68 was not doing well. Didn't know what was wrong, but his health was going down pretty fast. So what happened was, my dad said, you need to come down. We need to go through things. My mum is incredibly talented with her hands. She's a quilter, a knitter, an artist. Very creative. But her hands do not work when it involves a smartphone or a computer. Okay? And she was overwhelmed because my dad had taken care of everything. So it's very standard. Anyway, so I went down to Florida, sat down with my parents, and created a binder. Now, my parents had a copy of it, and I had a copy. And the reason I had a copy is because with my dad's health, we were already jumping into that what if, because we knew there was something serious. So for 3 months, and it felt like an eternity, the doctors were actually trying to figure out what was wrong. But you can imagine when somebody really hasn't seen a doctor for so many years, there are so many things that they had to try and figure out. Anyway, 3 months later, my dad was diagnosed with terminal cancer. But in that 3 months, my dad would pick up the phone and say, I feel great. And I would say, fantastic, because then I don't need to do anything. But there were equally times when my dad would say to me, I don't know what this medication is or what it's doing to me, but I really don't trust myself to make a decision. And I could then say, okay, don't worry. I will get you an appointment with the doctor. Stop taking it. And I will take care of all the bills. Now, remember, he only had Medicare, couldn't get supplemental insurance, so we still had a lot of medical bills. So But I could step in seamlessly and say, don't worry, you need to focus on the most important thing right now, which is your health. So that's how we managed it for 3 months. Okay. When my father was diagnosed, that's when I said, okay, full time here, focus on your health. But what it allowed me to do, which was huge, I was able to travel to Florida every month. I spent a week with my parents so I could give my mum a break because she was the caregiver. Now, my dad spent a lot of that time in the hospital, but it didn't matter. She was the caregiver. It was exhausting. And I could be present with my dad. To this day, and that, being able to, being present with a person is so important. We didn't have an agenda. We didn't have to worry about any of this stuff. We could truly just be present. And I say that, like, that was a really special time. And I'm so grateful that I had that time with him. And I just have to say, actually on my phone, well, you can't really see it, but it's a picture of my dad, so I get to see him every day. You know, we have to remember now, every day I call my mum multiple times. We moved her up here, she's close to me now, and I'll be on the phone with her, and often I'm on my email or I'm typing a note, and I have to remind myself, be present. For heaven's sakes, I should know better than this, because often we're not. Anyway, just cherish those times. So after that, I figured everyone does this because we should do this. We know we need to do it. Everyone does it. And I came to learn myself that no, most people don't. Well, they have something, but it's just not enough. Anyway, what really triggered me to start doing something about this was 9 years ago, my husband actually was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer in his 40s. And I will knock on wood, he is cancer-free right now. But his doctor actually told him, you won't live to see your kids graduate from high school. So, you know, it was tough. I'll tell you, it was pretty tough, and we have not moved on from this because every year, unfortunately, we go back to it. But my point is, we thought we were too young for this. Why, in our 40s, do we need a resource like this? And that was my rude awakening, that you're actually never too young to put one together because we don't have control. So that's why I try and tell people, learn from my experience. So while my husband was going through chemo and often hospitalized because they were trying to protect it. The only place he didn't have cancer was his brain, so they were trying to protect it. So I could not step in and help him. And the reason I say that is I think it's true for many families. It's kind of like divide and conquer. You know, you've got 2 young kids, you've got the sports, you've got, you know, all that stuff. Life is busy. My husband took care of the finances. Pretty standard, actually. Or paid most of the bills. Now, I knew some of the information for my details, but I certainly didn't know his. Now, I joke about this, but it's really true. Sometimes my husband can't decipher his passwords. And his passwords are so cryptic, or it's his handwriting, he can't always figure it out. So, you know what? I couldn't step in and help him when he needed me the most. Okay? If we had had that binder then, I could have, but we didn't. So anyway, we have one now, which is good. So that's why I started doing this. After he got better, I finally said, you know what? I need to talk to people about this, learn from my mistake. Okay? So that's how I started giving presentations. And then one senior center, actually it was Sherborne, that was the one I was trying to remember earlier, said to me, can't you teach a class on this? And that's where the classes evolved, or how they evolved. So anyway, let's talk about the life transition binder, because it truly is a binder. Okay? Because I think having the ability to touch it, to look at your information at any point in time is critical. Okay? It's got to be accessible. So we said earlier there are 8 different sections in the generic binder. So the first one is personal information. And I'm just going to give you a quick idea of the kinds of information that I like to put in them. So it's information that's unique to you. Okay? So your name, obviously, if you have a spouse, your spouse, your date of birth, driver's license, passport, those are all unique to you. For me, naturalization papers. So it's looking at what's unique to you. Now, other information that's in there, just to give you an idea, end of life wishes. I kid you not, when about 6 months, 9 months, time flies by, I have no idea really now, but my husband was cooking dinner, which is always a good thing, and I said to him, you know what is it that you want? What do you want? And he looked at me and he's like, what are you talking about? I said, we have avoided this for so long, and shame on us. What are your wishes? I don't know what your end-of-life wishes are. So one of the things that and he told me, thankfully, I encourage you to talk about end-of-life wishes. It's not a bad thing. We're just pre-planning. It's just about honoring what you want. So in class, we talk about it, and it's documented here. If you've prepaid for something, then you can document it. And then remember those extra tabs that I bring in? Okay, now you're going to start putting it there too. But it's about discussing it. What are your options? If you've prepaid for anything, documenting it, but just talking about it openly and understanding some of the options that exist. I will just, as an example, there are 3 options right now, but there will be a 4th one pretty soon, I think. The 3 options: you can be buried, you can be cremated, you can donate your body. And the 4th one will be natural organic reduction. The abbreviation is NOR. It's human composting. It's legal in New York. The 2 closest states, New York and Vermont. There are other states it's legal. We are reviewing it in Massachusetts. So we start talking about, okay, start at the top. Document what you want, and you can change it at any point, but document what you want, and then what are your options from there? So we sort of talk about that a little bit too. Anyway, at the back of the personal section, it also looks at passwords to technology. The reason that's so important is because, you know what? Sometimes if somebody has to use your computer, they need to know how to access it, and without that passcode, they can't do much of anything. So it's the passwords to technology. If somebody doesn't like to write it in, then give somebody a hint where they can find it, a good hint. Okay? Anyway, jumping into the next section, which is the property section, that really looks at all your tangible items, all your property. So it could be a house, a car, it could be a trailer, a timeshare, a safe deposit box. Those are all forms of tangible property, and there are more. But just to give you an idea. So it's about documenting what you have and specific details for each one that you will need to know and somebody else might need to know. So just the details. I also like to look at personal belongings because I think that's critical. After my dad died, my mum would ask my kids every year, what would you like for your birthday? And guaranteed my kids would say anything that belonged to Gang Gang, because my kids were young and that's what they called my dad. And it's, you know what, they treasure those items. So if you've got something that you want a family member, a niece, nephew, or you want to donate to a special place, you've got to document it. The reason I say that is because nowadays often what'll happen is whoever is your executor or personal representative when you pass away, they hire a company, the dumpster comes up, and they have no idea what they're looking at. So they don't know if it's something special that should be handed off to someone else. You have to document it. Anyway, the next section of your binder looks like, or it's a financial information, so it looks at the professionals that you work with, the legal and estate documents that you've created, and who you've picked as your agents. And when I say your agent, that's the generic term. Let's say, for example, you have a healthcare proxy. The person you pick as your primary healthcare proxy is the agent. You always have to have a backup as well, an alternate. But anyway, so it looks at what documents you've created and who you've selected. Then it looks at your banking information, your credit cards, and it's about documenting what you have set up that's like automated. So you may have a bank account, as an example, and you've automated some payments to make life easier for you. You need to let other people know that. I mean, you need to know it for the future in case you forget, but at the same time, it's really important to also document, because remember, that's what if something happens, you need somebody to step in. So it was handy for me to know when I was paying my parents' bills what I had to do and what I actually didn't have to do, because that told me I didn't have to do a thing. Another example, I got a notice from Bank of America. My mum banks at Bank of America. Anyway, and it says, basically online bill pay is not going to be working the way it used to. I had to take that letter into the bank manager to say, can you help me with this? Like, hey, I have an education. We had to go through that to try and figure out what they were saying, because they're changing the system. So when I say documenting it can be really valuable for you down the road, my mum would have ripped up that letter and said, I have no idea what this says. Because really, the bank manager and she should have known. She couldn't figure it out either. But it was changing things. It was changing things. And so now we're going to have to make some changes to how we pay some bills. So that's why documenting it is really important. Okay? So it does look at, what bills are automatically paid, what deposits are automatically made. It's always good to know. For credit cards, it looks at your credit cards, but also, do you have automatic payments? Anyway, that's the kind of information that I include in the financial information. And then in investments, the next tab, it really looks at all different kinds of investments, different forms of income. You could have a 529 plan that you own. You could have a retirement account. There are different kinds of retirement accounts. You could have an annuity. Maybe you have a pension. Maybe you have investments that aren't retirement accounts. So it's about documenting what you have and where it is. Again, so most importantly, and then likewise, somebody else knows in case they need to step in. Okay? So like if you had a retirement account and it's a traditional IRA, an IRA, it also looks at your required minimum distributions, because you've got to take those. So it looks at all the different kinds of investments that you have and income that's coming in. The next section looks at insurance. I like to divide it into, you've got life insurance and long-term care, you've got homeowners insurance and car insurance, and then you've got health insurance. So it's just separated but in the same section because they're all forms of insurance. So it's about documenting what you have so that you know, again, and somebody else can turn to if they need to. That's the insurance section. The next one is medical. So really, medical is looking at the doctors who you see and why you see them. Okay? It also addresses if you have allergies, any health conditions, and also do you have access to online portals? Okay? Because that's important. And then, let's see. So the next section would be services, which is bill payment. It looks at all your bills and how you pay them. What I like to do is I like to organize them. So there's one section within bill payment. There's a page or two for utilities. Let's organize all our utilities in one place. Who's the company? I'm going to give you an example. Eversource. It's my electric supplier. So it says Eversource. And underneath it, it says how I pay that bill. And then next to it, it says the account number. And then it says the phone number. So all somebody needs to know. It's a great reminder to me of how I pay those bills. Again, I may know it today, but I may not know it in 10 years' time or 5 years' time. So it's that reminder to me of how I pay all my bills. And I know it'll be a little bit hard to see, but just as an example. So I like to set things up in tables. So the binders, I'll just kind of walk around with it. But it's a table format because I think the presentation of the information is actually as valuable as the information that goes in there. Some people have said to me, they've actually brought to me their emergency kits as such, like these are all my emergency documents. Can you take a look at them? And it literally looks like a big run-on sentence that goes on for 10 pages. And I'm sorry, but think about it. I have they know their information. That's great, but I don't. And so for me, there's a learning curve that's going like this. And I look at it and I'm totally overwhelmed. And I just have to say, we have to make it as simple for ourselves now, organized, so that it's clear where, what the information is and how it reads. That's why I like to use these templates that are tables. Because, sorry, I had my fingers right over it too. But it's just delineated in such a way that it makes it simple. But I have it here, so you're welcome to take a look. Anyway, and then the last section actually is called Other, which really looks at other information. So specifically, just to give you an idea, it's like trusted resources or important documents and where to find them. Those are two tables in there as an example of what falls in the other categories. That's sort of the general idea. That's the content of the binder. As I said earlier, we're going to have a class here. For people who enroll in the class, you actually get the binder. We're going to be assembling them after this presentation. You get the binder and everything that's in it, and then we get to meet over 6 hours. And let me tell you, that class is packed full of, I think, really good information. Because I've been doing this for at least 8 or 9 years now, I bring all that information with me because, you know what, we're in this together. You're going to teach me things that I don't know, but I'm going to share whatever I know with you. Okay? I'm going to give you examples because I think we learn through examples. You're going to know my family by the end of it. So we share information because that's how we learn too. But during those classes, basically we add other information. So it's not just what's in the binder. That's like the base of it, but we talk about how to minimize the capital gain on your property if you have to sell it. We're going to talk about probate and how to avoid it. Okay? We're going to talk about your support network, actually. And there are a number of other handouts as well. we're going to talk about the information your healthcare proxy needs. Okay? So those are just some of the things that get packed into the class. I love the class. I love teaching it. I love working with seniors. So I hope you'll join us. I really do. And trying to think, I guess that really covers everything in the binder. One of the things that we're also going to do is, I'm sure you've most probably seen the file of life. We're going to talk about the file of life in the class. I'll do a very quick discussion about it now, because I think this is so important, let me tell you. This document that's in here has important information about you and your health, okay? Allergies, your doctors, emergency contacts, your healthcare proxy, health issues, right here in one place, okay? We will have them. We're going to put them in the binders. We will have them for you. But critical information that you should have accessible. And then I'm going to tell you your personal representative, no, not personal, your healthcare proxy needs it, excuse me. They need it because, again, I would say that most probably don't know all the details that's on here, and they should know it. But anyway, something that's really important, something that's you should keep updated, and we'll go through that too in the class. One thing I do want to address very quickly is obviously the security of this information, because if you're going to take the class and you're going to have a binder and you're going to fill this in, you're going to see very quickly that, you know, oh wow, there's a lot of personal information in here, banking information, investment in details. How do I keep it safe? So one of the things that I encourage is, if you have a physical safe, I actually keep mine in a safe, but it's in my house, so I can still access it every day. It's the best option. What we have done is, and I come prepared to class, or if somebody emails me, one of the things that I do, what we do is, instead of, your binder will have a sheet right in here, but what we do is we create a new one that might say, as an example, grandma's recipes, or it might say family ancestry details. But if it says grandma's recipes, you know what? The first page will be grandma's recipes. We're actually going to stick some recipes in there. And guess where you're going to keep it? You're actually going to keep it with your recipes. Okay? So it's about making it personal for you. So if somebody emails me, because you'll have my email on every page of here, you'll email me and just say, can you make me a cover sheet that says, you know, whatever it is, ancestry details. And I'll print it out and you'll collect it from me in class. And then you're going to insert it in there, and you're going to hide it in plain sight. You're not going to put it with your financial details because you're trying to camouflage it. Okay? So anyway, any questions?
I'm going to stay seated for this, but yeah, on the back of the Solo Ager network handout, you'll see a description of it. All you need to do is go down to the front desk and register. There is a cost, which is $40. That is a minor cost. It's for the entire workshop. You do get the binder, you get all the education, all the training. I will just say that that fee is also supplemented by the Jenks, so you're not paying for the full cost. But I also want to, if you are not able to attend those dates, we do ask that you come to all 4 sessions, because not just pick up the binder and go home. So please, 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 please come. And I mean, we're anticipating, expecting people to come to the 4 sessions. Of course, life happens, but if you miss one. But Sandra, can you also talk about, and space is limited, thank you. Space is limited in these workshops to 26 people, because we need to have a small enough group that Sandra can actually be effective in having us and supporting us all in completing it. So just wanted to say that. And Sandra, if you can talk about if they're not able to come to that workshop, your website, they're able to access, what are they able to access on their own or do on their own that is outside of this 4-week workshop if they aren't able to attend?
Right. So if you can't take the class, so you have a handout, obviously, it gives you the framework if you want to build something yourself, obviously. Through my website, I do sell the binder, and I do have an online class. Now, when I say an online class, let me just explain it. I've pre-recorded a class as such. There are 4 videos, I believe. You get all the backup information too, but you get a digital version. You don't get the physical binder. You actually get an electronic version of it. So you have a choice. You can print it out. No matter what, even if you create it electronically, I truly believe you need a printed copy of it so you can put your hands on it. You can choose to fill it out online, but I would be very careful. And I say that for your own security, because when I work one-on-one with some people to actually complete them, they come to me and they say, I need it, I will never do it. You know, we know what we're like. And so we do it together. I give them a flash drive with the file on it and a printed version. And the reason I say that is if you do it online, you get the electronic version. I would recommend you save a copy of it blank. You can then either print it blank and fill it in by hand, or if you choose to fill it in online, save it on a removable drive. And the reason I say that, or a flash drive, and I say that because, you know what? If Experian can be hacked, then you better believe our little computers can be. And I would hate for that information to be compromised, which is why I always say, you know, removable flash drive, don't keep it on your computer. That's just me. I worry about that, but that's me. So that is an option as well. I just wanted to say too, for example, as you heard, that the Jenks, the center is actually subsidizing the class. So when I sell these binders, I actually charge $75 for them. But the reason is because I have a business. I have to pay the state of Massachusetts a ton of money every year, unfortunately. I have to have Zoom, I have to have insurance, and then I physically create them. So I have costs. That's the only way I can cover them. So it's an amazing benefit that they are subsidizing the class. It really is, because like I said, you can see right there, it's almost half, almost half the cost of buying the binder on your own, and then we get to be together for 6 hours. So, yes.
I have entered a lot of this information on a spreadsheet. I've entered it on a spreadsheet. So instead of using tabs, I use the sheets down at the bottom. But I have like 5 miscellaneouses because I've gotten some information from you that's very helpful. But what is your opinion on having it on a spreadsheet as opposed to having it there?
Okay, so I haven't seen it, so I'm just based on what you're saying. You've got a spreadsheet with the information on it. The reason that I love this format, I'm a little biased obviously, but is because it's really well organized. So if I'm looking for personal information, I know exactly where I'm going. Now, down the road, if we start to have memory issues, are we going to, this should be easy to navigate. I don't know how your sheets are, and if, okay, they're organized. But this is also easy for somebody else who's stepping in. Because anyone who's stepping in, just think about their learning curve. They don't know your details. And so it's a sharp learning curve. And so the whole point of this is, yes, it's for you, but we're trying to make it as simple as possible for anyone else who has to step in and start running from the get-go. So I am biased, but you know,
Yeah, but the person who's going to be my proxy
Yep.
or whatever is quite used to spreadsheets.
That
and so forth. So
spreadsheet,
that's
yep.
why I.
yeah, I mean, if it works for you and for them,
you. Yep.
then you have, yeah, if it works for you, as long as, let's just say, you know, it's a spreadsheet too, I would definitely have a hard copy of it, and it's got to be last updated. You've got to make sure they know that, because if something, let's say, if you can't use your computer for whatever reason, or you know the computer breaks, or you just aren't able to manage it yourself, you need that hard copy. You absolutely do. So yeah, you're welcome. Questions. Okay, well, hold on one second.
I've added another thing because I think I've done everything you said, because
Okay,
I'm one of those type A people.
excellent.
And one of the other things is to record the medical history of your family. 'Cause,
Yes.
what my deceased wife's family had, and I've got that down. What my family had, and but the most important thing that I learned today is a way to hide that, how to hide that information, because that information could bankrupt you.
Yes. Yeah. So actually, your comment about, you know, like the family medical health, it's in the medical section. I mean, I just went through it very quickly. That is one of the things. The reason I say that, I mean, it's so important. We don't think about it. We don't think it's important. But here, this happened about 9 months ago in my family. I told you guys are going to know my family. My son, 26 years old, now he's 26. He was 25 at the time on our medical, you know, coverage. And he always used to notify us when he was going to have a bill for us to pay, you know. So he I don't know what, WhatsApped us and said, oh, don't be surprised, there's going to be a bill. I have to pick up some medication. I've got, he said, gosh, it was something to do with his kidney. But he was just like, I'm anemic. Doctor says I'm chronically anemic. And we were just like, time out. And we said, before you pick that up, we're not worried about the cost, but before you pick that up and take some medication that you may not need, did they check for thalassemia minor? And he's like, so of course, you know, he's 25 at the time. The doctor won't talk to us. So what happens is that my son, back and forth with the doctor, because they don't answer the phone now, you can only leave messages. But the short of it was, yes, we tested for it. So my husband then said, send me a screenshot of the test results. Okay, we got them back. They never tested for thalassemia minor. So then my husband says, this is a test you needed to do for thalassemia minor. My husband has thalassemia minor, by the way. Makes you look like you have chronic anemia, and you don't. So then they start giving you medication that actually can cause kidney damage. Anyway, 3 months later, the doctor finally agreed, yeah, we did not test for it, but we'll do it now. So you've got to be on top of this. You need to know this health, you know, these health details that could be hereditary. Because really, could be life-saving knowing it. So 100%. Yes. So it is in here. But thank you.
Yeah, my question was, if you have more than 25 people, will you do another class? It looks like you have more than 25 in here.
I think I'll be talking to Suzanne and to Marianne, and we'll figure it out. Yeah. So anyway. All right, excellent. Thank you all for coming. There you go.